The Daedalus Class. It's kind of an odd design, which you may not know about at all unless you are fairly deep into the whole Star Trek lore thing. But the class is official in Star Trek canon, with several known members of the class referred to on screen during episodes of The Next Generation. We also see a model which in side canon sources is listed as the Daedalus Class, this being a model that we can see in Benjamin Sisko's office aboard Deep Space Nine. Some will claim that the model in Sisko's office does not actually represent the Daedalus class, or else that the ship does exist, but that the model was made by a young Sisko and is thus not very accurate to the real ship. Many will also claim that the design does not mesh well with later canon ships of the pre-original series period. Regardless of these arguments, we're going to assume that the Daedalus class looked like Sisko's model, that he would probably not be wanting to display in pride of place some horrible cobbled-together model of a starship made before he went to school in his office, because even if your mother proudly kept a hold of that third-grade science project you made 20 years ago, probably doesn't mean that you would want your present-day coworkers to see it in your office ever. So with that established, before we get into the conversation about the ship's size, let's briefly touch on what we know about the class in canon, and then add some side canon to the discussion. As far as the canon goes, we pretty much only have a quote in the Next Generation episode Power Play listing the USS Essex as belonging to the Daedalus class, stating that the ship was lost prior to 2168. Several other ships mentioned in the original series would retroactively be assigned to the class. Then we have Sisko's model of the USS Horizon, which was a ship assigned to be a Daedalus class, but which was initially mentioned in the original series. The only other tidbit of information we have for the ship is that the Essex had a crew of roughly 230, this coming from the same quote from TNG which named the class. And that's it for canon info. We have a single ship, the Essex, mentioned as specifically belonging to the Daedalus class, and multiple ships from the original series assigned to the class as well. Then we have Sisko's model of the Horizon, which is assumed to belong to the class, though I think that we can assume that the model was prepared by the set design staff specifically to represent the Daedalus class, taking inspiration from early concepts for what would eventually become the Constitution class Enterprise from the original series. Now that we have the established canonicity of the design, we can get into the ship's dimensions and canon. Which is to say that we have no canon answer for the ship's dimensions. We're not even sure what the ship looks like, though I'm pretty sure that it looks like the model in Sisko's office. So, here we are. But we have the Star Trek Encyclopedia, which is side canon and as close to real canon as we can get, and it lists the ship as being 105 meters long. I have issues with this size. Firstly, this makes the ship exceptionally small for a Star Trek vessel. It doesn't really fit in well with other ships that we see. Secondly, I find it very hard for a ship of 105 meters to possibly hold a crew of well over 200. If that were true, the ship's complement would live in conditions I would describe as analogous to those submarine crews in the Second World War, which is to say hot, humid, close, maybe even intimate, like sardines in a can. At the same time, the model itself suggests a significantly larger ship than 105 meters, with the windows on the model generally suggesting a vessel with about 18 decks, though you can have some wiggle room there. And if we assume a deck height on average of about 3 meters, we can work out a ship about 180 meters long. At 105 meters, we can just about make the windows on the hull work with around 12 decks, though this arrangement is less than ideal and results in a number of inconsistencies, as well as the windows themselves being small generally. Furthermore, with 12 decks, the average height of the decks themselves would be only 2.5 meters, resulting in a fairly low and tight-feeling internal arrangement. There's also issues with how the bridge would fit on this ship. It would actually have to be sunk in quite a bit, and then it would be quite short itself. At the same time, a ship with 18 decks and 180 meters of length would likely have a similar internal volume to the Constitution class of a century later. Spheres and cylinders have a lot of volume per meter, people. Something that may not be totally unbelievable, but doesn't mesh well with the general idea of older ships being generally smaller than newer ships that we see elsewhere in Trek. Okay, so the cannon length has issues, and the arrangement that makes the most sense has its own issues on top of that, though not that significant really. But is there a compromise anywhere which allows us to square the circle of this arrangement? Well, yes. In my mind, there is. With 15 decks, pretty much right in the middle of the two options, we get a vessel of roughly 150 meters long, with each deck being around 2.8 meters tall. Significantly more room than the 2.5 meter height of a 105 meter Daedalus, but yeah, slightly shorter than the 3 meter standard we see in later ships. But not enough for it to be super noticeable after a few weeks. For my own 2 cents, I like a 150 meter ship with 16 decks and some wiggle room at the top and bottom to fill out the upper and lowermost decks of the saucer, the sphere. 150 meters is also just an all-around good number and fits quite well in the hole. The window arrangement works out alright on a 150 meter ship as well, and also compares well alongside the Constitution class, making the Daedalus appear small next to the much later ship, but not comically small, which a 105 meter vessel does, in my opinion at least. Just way, way too small. So that is the dimensions of the ship according to me. I should note that a lot of the stuff from this video comes from an article on Ex Astra Scientia, which is just an amazing website for fans of Trek. I pretty much just agree with the conclusions he makes, and in fact I actually made a Daedalus class in Minecraft using 150 meter length for the ship, and you should be seeing it in the video now. So yeah, I'm actually really pleased with this. It has a full-on interior, and yeah, I like it. I've built other stuff on that world that I don't like, but I like that Daedalus. It's really cool looking. Anyway, as always, huge thanks to the channel's patrons who get this video a day in advance. As a perk, they also get access to all the artwork that I use, that I make for the videos, which you can too on Patreon. You can follow the link below, and you can feel free to take the art from there. That's another perk that the patrons get, is they get that first. So give that a look if you want. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. I made an Daedalus class, so this is an issue that I'm tangentially aware of, although that Daedalus model is like 3 or 4 years old by this point, because I've built other stuff in that world since then. So yeah, let me know what you think of the more than one video a week plan so far. I know that this is just 2 videos in, but hopefully Monday there will be another video coming. So let me know if you like 2 videos a week. Hopefully you do. Because that's the plan right now while I look for work. I have the free time in between job applications to places that never call you back. Why put out the hiring thing if a week goes by and you've not at least called someone? This is not a populous area. Not a lot of people applying here. Hopefully not a lot of people. But also, if you've taken the position, if you filled it, why would you keep the thing up? I don't know. I hate looking for work. Anyway, I guess have a good day.